Welcome. You're listening to The Best of Investing. I'm your host, Edward Brown. Our phone number is 888-912-1190. Use that number to answer the trivia questions for a 5-pack tanning certificate given away during this show. And that certificate's not sponsored by the radio station, but by Tan Bella Tanning Salon with 2 locations in San Francisco and 1 in Marin. And now that the sun's back out and people have been getting out of the rain, they're going to want to get their tan on. So this is a good base. By the way, those certificates are worth at least $100 a piece. So that's a nice little certificate. And today's trivia theme is, what show was that in the 1990s? That's our trivia question. All right. Today we have, welcome back, another special guest, as we've had him in the past, Michael Brouse, reverse mortgage specialist. Michael, welcome to the Best of Investing. Welcome back, I should say.
Thank you, Edward. It's always a pleasure to be on the show, and Happy New Year to you. I know it's getting to be where we don't really say that after a certain amount of time, but
no. Hey, listen, if I haven't seen you until since November or whatever, then no, it's you can say it all the way up until December, right?
Right.
Again. All right. So now, Michael, you're go ahead and just tell us. You're with a new reverse mortgage company. Which company is it, and why did you make the change?
Yeah, so I left my old company in about the end of November and joined Fairway Independent Mortgage Company. Great company. They're a top 5 forward lender, but they also do a significant amount of reverse business. And they've actually got a whole division to support reverse, the marketing, the processing, the underwriting. So it's really a good, it was a good fit for me. They're wanting to grow their, their reverse presence in the Northern California area. A lot of great originators already up here, but I felt it was a good opportunity. And, when it comes to reverse, as you may know, he or she who educates the most wins. So, we had the Tom Sellecks of the world on cable television in telling folks, how great a reverse mortgage was. Well, that's one thing to be a movie star and have that platform and be able to talk about it from that point. But we've got some, some technicians, boots on the ground folks who've actually written books. So one of them is Harlan Akala, wrote a book on reverse mortgages. A guy named Dan Holtquist, who has been instrumental in forming a lot of the curriculum that goes into the testing to become a certified reverse mortgage planner. And then there's another guy named Tane Cabe, who wrote the book on purchasing a home with a reverse mortgage. So a really well-rounded group there as far as, education and getting the word out to folks. And as a matter of fact, I don't know if it's appropriate to tell you about this, but if you want Harlan, Dan, or Tane's book, let me know. I'll get you one at no cost. We'll send it right to your house. Or it's a physical book. So yeah,
I appreciate that. Let me ask you, just from a marketing standpoint, Tom Selleck, I know I've seen him on TV doing reverse mortgage. I can't remember the name of the company, but I got to think, a lot of California people are, somewhat sophisticated. I would think that would help your business just in general, because people, aren't automatically just going to call the company with Tom Selleck and nothing against him personally, but go with that company. They'll probably go, oh, well, this sounds kind of interesting, and then they'll shop around.
Yeah.
So I would think that it's like, hey, Tom, go ahead, and keep promoting, and just in general.
Right. If they're not talking against us, let them go. So that's it's a good thing. And you're right. The Californians, because home value equity, that's built up over time, it becomes like, oh, okay, maybe this is a great supplemental retirement resource for us, when we get to that age, at least to be, thinking about it. So yeah, Tom Selleck's done a great job, but again, it's, people do the research. There's a number of, websites out there, but what's interesting, and, I don't want to go negative on this, but, we had some major changes in 2022. One of them being a former company that I was with, claimed Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection.
Okay.
So that was interesting. It was, to see that happen. Never thought it would, but naturally, the borrowers or the clients of reverse mortgage funding have not, everything is being taken care of, and that's
okay. So they're not impacted, even if they had a credit line.
Right. No, it's all.
That's good to know. Very,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
But
It's funny because I was thinking, okay, we're in California. If you're in, let's say the lower income part of Alabama, where a house is worth 75,000, I can't think that there's too many reverse mortgage. At least
yes,
I just can't imagine there being too many of those. Let's put it that way. All right, we're going to
yes.
cut to our first commercial break here. We're getting kind of busy with this. Okay, so our first trivia question: the 1990s. What TV show are we talking about? This show mainly centered around lawyers. Some of the names of the characters were Stuart Markowitz, Jonathan Rollins, and Victor Cifuentes. What TV show are we talking about? Call 888-912-1190. First caller with the correct answer wins that tanning certificate. By the way, I want to make a mention here also for the Mount View Hotel and Spa in Calistoga. They've advertised with us before. They're offering 25% off all rooms this season. The historic Art Deco hotel located in the heart of downtown Calistoga features welcoming accommodations, beautiful outdoor space, a pool, which I've been in, which is fantastic, and a mineral spa, spring jet spa. You can walk to restaurants because it's right there in Calistoga. Check them out at the mountviewhotel.com. That's mountviewhotel.com. Stay with us. You're listening to The Best of Investing. Don't touch that dial. We're going to be right back. Welcome back to The Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, along with my special guest, Michael Brouse. First trivia question. We're talking shows in the 1990s. This show mainly centered around lawyers. Some of the names of the characters were Stuart Markowitz, Jonathan Rollins, and Victor Cifuentes. What TV show are we talking about? Can't remember?
No.
LA Law.
LA Law.
LA Law, yes. Okay. Jimmy Smits was in there, and Corbin Burnson. Some of those guys. Okay. It was a good show. And Harry Hamlin, I think it was the other person. Oh, I mean, there's a bunch of different people, but it was a bunch of, actually, Susan Day. Remember the old Partridge Family? Yes.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So, Michael, we've talked about reverse mortgages in the past. I got a quick question for you. Interest rates have gone up just in general for buying houses. How have the interest rates been affected on reverse mortgages? I mean, I got to think that they've gone up also, but has it been the same rate?
Yeah, they have, and it has affected, some folks. In August of 2022, when rates began to kind of ascend, if you will, a lot of folks ended up not being able to do a reverse because what happens is when the interest rate goes up, without getting too technical, it reduces the amount of equity that becomes available. So the folks that, were looking to get, some cash out, all of a sudden that gap was squeezed, and suddenly it didn't make sense anymore because, while we may have been able to, retire the first mortgage and get them a line of credit, now it was just retiring the first mortgage maybe and not leaving them with any cash or a line of credit. So,
And does in reverse mortgages, do you get a choice of whether you want a fixed or a floating rate?
Yeah, you do. The lion's share of the HECMs or home equity conversion mortgages that I help folks with are adjustable because on the adjustable, you can have a line of credit to go along with that.
Yeah, because I don't know any line of credit that, whether it's a HELOC or a HECM. I mean, there's no line of credits I know of that are fixed because you never know when you're going to drag out the money. But if you take all the money in one shot, then that's how you get your fixed mortgage, right? Your fixed rate.
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah. And the rule of thumb for a reverse, the adjustable reverse is commensurate with like a 30-year fixed on the forward side.
Okay.
Now the fixed rate on the reverse side is probably going to be a point and a half higher. So a lot of people see that and they go, oh yeah, well, I think I'll stick with the adjustable at this point. That way, when the rates come back down, I'll be able to take advantage of that. And it's not so rate sensitive in that, with a forward mortgage, if you have an adjustable, when those rates go up, your payment increases.
Yeah.
With the reverse, there's really no impact to your cash flow because there's no minimum payment required.
Yeah, good point. It's just going to, well, and once you lock in the line of credit amount, if interest rates go up, the bank doesn't change that, do they?
Correct.
Wow. See,
Correct.
that's kind of interesting because I know like on regular HELOCs, banks, I mean, they can just like wake up one day and say, we're done.
Yeah,
They,
that happened. That happened in 2006,
they
2007.
they can't do that on a reverse, can they?
No, the line of credit amount can't be canceled or reduced as long as all the terms are met,
Yeah.
of the reverse mortgage. So yeah, no, it's a peace of mind knowing that, what was established at closing is kind of what's going to be there. So yeah, a lot of it's a lot more, credible, if you will, than a HELOC. Now a HELOC's a great tool, but like you said, I mean, what happens if, the big bank wants to wake up one morning and say, you know what, we can't have all this money out on the house anymore. We're going to press a button and freeze those lines of credit. How do you as a homeowner feel like, wow, that was kind of my psychological cushion. I needed that to go to in the event of, and, we know life happens. I think we were talking about that before. Roofs need replacing, water heaters need replacing. Hey, kids need to go to college sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. I don't know if college is the way it used to be, but it's interesting how from a borrower standpoint, I love HELOCs because I'm pretty disciplined, so I can just go in and out of it when I want, and it only costs like $75 a year. But from a lender standpoint, if I'm not mistaken, they still have to put reserves away because I could potentially take all the money out. Well, I don't know exactly how that works. Maybe they don't have to put the reserves away until I actually borrow the money.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, but that's a good point because I'm a fan of HELOCs too. But here's one thing I'm not a fan of, and we just talked about it. What happens if you wake up one morning, the banks decide, you know what, there's kind of a national housing bit of a up and down here. We think values are going to go down. We're going to reduce your line of credit, or we're going to cancel it altogether. Here's another thing: your shelf life for a HELOC is about 10 years.
Yeah.
So meaning, it's an adjustable rate, so it's going to fluctuate with the market, which is okay sometimes. But you have 10 years to use it and pay it back, use it and pay it back, use it and pay it back. But at that 10th year, at the end of that 10th year, it's payback time. And it's basically the bank is closed, if you will. You can't borrow on that anymore.
No,
now,
they did, but then they term it out, I think, don't they?
They term it out. A lot of times, sure, I'll just redo it. Why wouldn't I do that? But sometimes the market conditions don't allow that. So it's there's a lot of ifs, if you will, with the HELOC. Again, where I feel like the line of credit with the reverse mortgage is a little bit more stable. You can depend on it. There's really no shelf life. It's basically good for the life of the loan, and it grows in value. So
yeah, if your house goes up in value.
No, not necessarily. Your home doesn't have to do anything. Your home can stay flat or go down, but that line of credit will continue to increase. The line of credit will continue to increase commensurate with the interest rate that you're paying for the borrowed money. In other words, if you have a line of credit of $100,000 and the interest rate you're paying is 5, I guess that would be what, 105 at the end of the year that line of credit is now grown to.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, but
yeah.
Even on the line of credit, that's right, because you don't pay it back. So
Right.
yeah, but if you decided to pay some of it back, could you drag it back out again, or you back to the 100?
Well, that line of credit is just sitting there waiting to be used. So you're not paying any interest on it. As a matter of fact, we're paying interest to you on that money to keep it in there. So, like so they would be like if you had a, $100,000 American Express silver, gold card, whatever. And they said every year we're going to increase the amount on that card 5%.
Oh, the availability.
The availability. So yeah, so it's not like it's not it's not like a investment to where your $100,000.
How are you going to pay it? Tell you what, let's get to our second commercial break and then we'll come
Yeah.
back. All
absolutely.
right, trivia question. My wife and I had many adventures-filled stories to tell in our fancy New York brownstone with our 5 children. What 1990s TV show are we talking about? He was known as a comedian for many years. My wife and I had many adventure-filled stories to tell in our fancy New York brownstone with our 5 children. Stay with us. Best of Investing. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, along with my special guest, Michael Brouse. Second trivia question about the TV show in the 1990s. Actually, you know, it's funny. I really remember this more in the 1980s, but it probably continued in the 90s. My wife and I, this is a comedy show. My wife and I had many adventure-filled stories to tell in our fancy New York brownstone with our 5 children. What TV show are we talking about? I know it's kind of a little bit esoteric. Let's put it this way. This comedian got in trouble later on.
Ah, I know what it is.
Okay, go ahead.
It's the Cosby's.
Cosby Show. Yeah, that's the one we're talking about. All right, Michael, we have a few questions for you here. So the increased lending limits for reverse mortgages up to $1,049,300. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Are you a good witch or a bad witch? You know, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah, I think when it comes to that, it's kind of like, you know, technology is not good or bad. It is what it is. It's how you use it. I think a lot more people will be able to take advantage of the higher limits, especially in California or, you know, New York, Florida, you know, it's different places around the country. It just includes a lot more, you know, homeowners. Because before, you know, if your home was more, I think it was 859, I think that was the limit in 2022. So if your home was $1.3 million, they capped the appraised value, you know, at 859. So now, if your home is over $1 million, you're going to be able to, you know, use that appraised value of $1,089,300. So I think it will include more people. Some people, you know, will be, you know, it won't matter. Because even
so $1,049,300 is the maximum value. So if you have a $5 million house, they'll still only cap it at $1,049,000 of the that's the appraisal, or that's the that's the actual lending limit.
That's the lending limit, yeah.
Gotcha.
So if it's a $5 million home, the max value they're going to attribute to that is the $1,049,300, and then we work backwards from there. So typically, if you have a 62-year-old, they're going to qualify for about 50% of that $1,049,300. So,
gotcha. Okay.
But
if someone's 80 years old, what percentage roughly of that $1,049,000?
A little more.
More, yeah. And you guys don't underwrite like health-wise, do you? Or you just strictly just
No.
Okay. Because in theory, if someone was like not going to live too long, you could potentially give them more.
Yeah. These things go out to 150. So that's how the mortality tables or morbidity. I think morbidity. Yeah. So it goes out. That's what a lot of the illustrations go to. So there's an amortization schedule with every one of these, which just means that this is the amount of interest that's going to accrue on the loan. This is the amount of equity that you may have with a 4% increase every year. So, you know, the amortization is a powerful tool, especially for financial planners, CPAs.
Is it compound interest or simple interest?
It's compound.
Yeah, I was going to say, I would think it has to be, because if you don't pay your $5,000 of interest, your value is now $105,000, and they're going to charge you interest on the 105, which again, you never pay back. It just kind of gets, you know, all right, kids, see ya.
Well, yeah. Well, what some people do for tax planning purposes and estate planning purposes is they make an interest payment at the end of the year, so they can use it on their taxes if they have taxable income over a certain amount. So it's not that you can't make a payment. I mean, I have done reverse mortgages for folks who are pre-retirement, but they wanted to have the choice whether to make the payment or not. Because if you look at 5 years of let's just say average mortgage payment is $2,500. You know, what is that? So it's over $25,000 in a year. What if you were to redirect that $25,000 into, I don't know, whatever you want to put it in that's going to earn interest? So that's what some people do. But some people say, no, I'm going to go ahead and continue to make the payment. But it's nice to know that I don't have to.
Yeah, you got a choice. When if someone, let's say at age 62, takes out a reverse mortgage and it's just a line of credit, but they don't touch it for 10 years. You know, as you said, at age 62, you're looking at roughly half, let's say. In this example, you got a $5 million house. The most you could look at is $1,049,300. You take roughly half of that, that's $525,000, call it. If now they're 70 years old, is that just basically grown by this, you know, 5% or whatever?
That's right. Yeah. So, and that's compounding too. So yeah, so that it compounds positively, the other way as well. So what did Einstein say? Those who
not ignore history, but do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result.
that was probably one of them. But one thing he said is that compound interest is the
the eighth wonder of the world.
Yeah, he says those that understand it will benefit by it. Those who don't will
get hurt.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting, because if you were to not do anything for a while, and if it's like you take out the reverse mortgage but you just don't touch it, and then over time it grows, but if it's a adjustable rate, then it's kind of like you just decide. I mean, it doesn't matter when you touch the money, it's going to be, the rate's going to change as the rate changes.
Right.
Even when you touch the money today, if 3 years from now interest rates go up, you're paying it's going to accrue at a higher rate because it's an adjustable rate.
That's right. And that's a good point, because it's counterintuitive. It's like, well, why would I want a higher rate? Well, if you have a line of credit, you want a higher rate because the money's going to grow at the higher rate.
Yeah. I said the availability of it. I gotcha. Okay, now we're going to cut to our third trivia question here, talking about shows in the 1990s. One of the most bittersweet moments in television history involved Bette Midler singing to the host on his second to last show. What show was that? Okay, kind of a odd question. It's one of those late night TV shows. All right, call 888-912-1190. First caller with the correct answer wins that tanning certificate. One of the most bittersweet moments in television involved in history. In television history involved Bette Midler singing to the host on his second to last TV show. What show are we talking about? All right, stay with us. The Best of Investing. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Best of Investing one more time. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Michael Brouse, our special guest on reverse mortgages. Our third trivia question, one of the most bittersweet moments in television history involved Bette Midler singing to the host on his second to last show. What show was that?
You want me to do it?
Yes.
Here's Johnny.
That's it. Yes.
Is that right?
That's correct. The Johnny Carson Show.
My other brain, Google, picked it up.
Oh, your other brain, Google. Okay, well, here's a one that I don't have on here. Who hosted the show before Johnny Carson? Jack Parr. And I think before Jack Parr, I think it was Steve Allen, if I'm not mistaken. Someone will have to correct me if I'm wrong on that. All right, so now, Michael, next question. Inflation. What happened to all my extra money?
Man, it's a deal. It's real. And sometimes by the time people figure out what's going on, inflation has come down. So it's like, wow, that was weird. That was a rough summer, or that was a rough winter. All it means is inflation is, too many dollars chasing too few goods. And what happens is, the feds try to combat inflation by raising interest rates. So inflation, an example of it, is at the beginning of 2022, if you went to fill up your F Ford 150, you probably could do it for about $45 if you buy gas at Costco.
Yeah.
But by September, it's like over $100 to fill up. So that's inflation. It's when prices go up and the dollar's just buying less, and that can affect somebody's budget. Are you a budgeter, Edward, on the air?
Very much so. So how does that fit in with our reverse mortgage question?
Yeah, well, look, if you're retired and you're budgeting $6,000 a month to live all in, and then you have a little extra, all of a sudden inflation, kicks in. You're paying more for gas. You're paying more for going out to dinner, more for food. And so then all of a sudden that $6,000 a month, man, it's not going as far as it used to. So it's like, well, man, maybe we can't go on that Florida vacation this year, or maybe we can't do some of the things we wanted to do that we were budgeting for because, that $6,000 is, running out towards the end of the month. And it's just not a cool thing. So that's what inflation is real. And it's not you going crazy, or it's not you spending more money. It's just the things that you spend your money on every day for.
And I'll tell you, they talk about inflation being 6, 7, 8%. No, I think it's, in some cases, it's over 30%. I mean, a very simple example, going to Safeway and buying my favorite, sugar-free carbon water drinks, right? used to be $3 for a 12 pack.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's about $3 for an 8 pack. That's a 33% inflation.
Yeah.
Eggs were like 300% or something ridiculous.
Right.
Yeah, if you want to talk about pencils, yeah, maybe pencils are, 6 or 7% inflation. But you again, going to the store, going to the gas station, all that's crazy.
Yeah. And here's another thing, Edward, is, when you think about that, your example of just the grocery store necessities, right? We're going to buy those things because we need them. But what about when you have supply chain issues? So can a store charge more for something if it's in high demand?
Yeah.
The whole supply and demand factor. So that's another thing that makes that 33%. It's like, I can't even buy a used car, when you talk about cars, and I know there's, core inflation and all that other, but no, it's real. And, the reverse mortgage, not a shameless plug, but the reverse mortgage can help somebody who is on a fixed income, they're retired, the bank's closed, and they're wondering where that extra money is going to come from because they can't just pull it out of thin air. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't want to, take on a job at this chapter of their life.
Well, Michael, before we forget, because people have been listening to the show and they go, well, I've heard Michael Brouse talk about reverse mortgages, but if I have questions for him, how do I get a hold of him?
Yeah, probably the best way is my website to get more information about me and reverse mortgages is norcalreverse.com.
norcalreverse.com. Okay.
Yeah, or you can call me or text me at 707-888-8230.
That's a good phone number. Yeah, that's a very good phone number, rascal. I want that number instead. Give it to me. Okay.
I've had that thing since 1997.
It's funny. I had a great phone number in 1993, and then back then the people were stealing them.
Right.
I mean, it was 999-9072. And then
wow.
They stole it and went to 999-6965. That's still okay. That one got stolen. So now I've had this one since I think probably 1990 or 2000 or something like that.
Wow.
All right. What lower rates mean for availability of equity, and what is a principal limit?
Yeah. So when you talk about how much equity is available when somebody goes to apply for a reverse mortgage, and by the way, that's the #1 search for term on the internet with regards to reverse mortgages, reverse mortgage calculator, or how much can I get? There's 3 things that determine how much equity may be available. #1 is the appraised value, right? Fair market value. #2, the age of the youngest borrower.
That's what I'm waiting for.
So like that means why would you say the age of the youngest borrower? Well, if there's people that are together and one is older and one is younger, we're going to use the younger age. Okay, you know why? Because they're going to
live longer.
Most of the time.
And the bank says, wait a minute, this person lives for another 50 years and they're never making a payment, and all they're doing is spending this money. They're going to be, there's no way the value of the house will cover it. So,
yeah, the math don't work on that.
no. And then the last thing about interest rates, or
no, the last thing is any existing liens. So sometimes we end up paying off an existing mortgage, or sometimes we end up paying off other things. So yeah, so that's what determines the amount of equity that's available. But then the calculation for what's called the principal limit. The principal limit actually is the amount of equity that becomes available overall. So that's not less any existing mortgages. That's straight up appraised value, age of the youngest borrower, and that's how we determine the principal limit. And then you have access to all or a portion of that principal limit, based on what your needs are.
It's interesting. There was a woman, an older woman who was still practicing as an attorney in San Francisco. And the idea, I actually got this referral from a reverse mortgage broker because they couldn't do a reverse mortgage for her because she was in default on the mortgage on her first. So what we did was but her income qualified to get a real loan. So we made her a real loan, and then the idea is after it seasons for enough time, then she'll be able to reverse mortgage it back.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great solution. Getting the home out of default. It can be that's actually an attorney thing.
Yeah. The rules is what the rules is.
Right. Well, I'm glad you're able to do it. And that's, that's the beautiful thing about, hard money or private money
Yeah.
that serves a purpose. Reverse mortgages serve a purpose. And of course, yeah,
They do. All right. Stay with us. The Best of Investing will be back with some closing comments. Don't touch that dial. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with my special guest, Michael Brouse. Michael, one more time, how do people get a hold of you if they're interested in reverse mortgages?
Yeah, they can either go to my landing page at 707-888. No, don't do that.
That's your phone number.
Yeah. So I can be reached by phone or text at 707-888-8230, or you can go to my landing page. And if you want to know what you may qualify for, there is a reverse calculator on there, and you can find that at www.norcalreverse.com. www.norcalreverse.com.
Very good. All right. So now we want to make do some discussion on what's going on at Pacific Private Money. So, we have 4 different funds, and our main fund that we're trying to push right now is our Freedom Fund, and that one is paying either a 7, 8, or 9%, depending upon if you put in $250, $500, or $1 million. And I got to say that the best part is that you can get the money back after 30 days notice. So it's almost like a money market. There's no real lockup. They're also going to be starting a REIT, which is going to be doing things like, commercial loans, commercial bridge loans, sort of things that we don't really cover in the other funds, but there's been a big demand for it. And the interesting thing is with a REIT, what they call the Q bid, which is qualified business income deduction, that's the 20% reduction that the tax law got passed a while back, is at the REIT level. So what happens is that for wealthy people who can't qualify for that 20% deduction, now they get to qualify. Mm-hmm. And for those people who are out of state, the REIT is done, again, everything is based on, I think this is still a California-based REIT, but there are a lot of people who are interested in a REIT structure who are out of state. So
I got to ask,
yeah.
What's a REIT?
A REIT, I'm sorry, a real estate investment trust. It's almost like a mutual fund.
Okay.
It's very similar to our funds. Our funds are almost like mutual funds. They're not under the Investment Act of 1940, but they're like a mutual fund. The thing is, REITs have special rules, like you have to pay out, I think it's 90 or 95% of the income. There's pros and cons to both, but the big benefit on REITs, it seems to be from a tax standpoint. It's a lot easier, getting a 1099 instead of a K1. But this Q-bid thing is pretty important for those people who ordinarily wouldn't qualify. Because, if you get paid out 8%, let's say, and you don't have to pay tax on 1.6%, you only have to pay tax on 6.4%, your after-tax rate of return is fairly high.
Let me ask, is that part of the new 30?
Trump passed this back in
okay, so
tax laws were going on.
So this has been on the books, and did you say is this commercial strictly, or is it?
They'll be like multifamily, commercial,
okay.
Ground up construction. We've got a few managers on it, so it's fairly new. There's no money in it yet. I mean, that's how new it is. It's just about to get started. So. Just for more information on that, but mostly our main fund is that Freedom Fund. You can go to pacificprivatemoney.com and check it out, because again, I don't know any other investment out there that's paying this high a rate of return. For it's such a conservative thing. It's funny. I had just gotten out of something, and now I got to go back in. Okay, so now we're going to cut to our thoughts for the day here. Here we go. All right. At my funeral, take off the bouquet off my coffin and throw it into the crowd to see who's next. Just like at the wedding, right? And I'm feeling sad today. Can everyone please send me cute pictures of their credit card, both front and back? Yes, I figured you'd get that one too. All right. Tune in next week to the Best of Investing. We're going to be giving away more free prizes for answering trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown, wishing you the best. of investing.
Always a
So-
pleasure.